Hi guys, happy 2020, happy new year. So to kick off the new year, we're going to do a bit of a special video today, a bit more of a longer one. So today we're going to go through full training of Microsoft Teams. So by the end of the video, you'll know the two things that you need to get started on Teams. We'll go through everything that we would train in an hour-long usual training session, and we'll move on to some things in the end that can show you the power of bringing everything together in Teams. My name's Gavin Jones. I'm Transformation Manager for a Fortune 500 company. All the tips we've got on YouTube come out of real life examples. If you've got anything else you want us to cover, let us know in the comments below. We've got a new video on Teams coming out every Tuesday, so make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button if you haven't already to get notified every time we release a new video. If you want the slides that go along with our training, so if you want to train some other people in your organization, or if you just want some tips that are written down all in one place, make sure you click the free download button in the description below. So without further ado, let's take a look at the training. Okay, so like we said, we're going to run through the full training today. I'm probably not going to edit it, so you can see how it runs to time. If you want to use this as a basis to train other people in your organization, you probably also want the deck, so make sure you click that free download button in the description below, or you can just use this to train yourselves, or if you just wanted to play this video to other people or point them in the right direction in this video, then you can do that as well. But I'll be talking about how you might want to train as we go through, as well as it being training itself. So without further ado, let's dive into Teams. So first of all, we're going to take a look at just what you see on the screen as a bit of an overview. So down the left hand side, you've got all of your buttons, and then Teams sort of works left to right. We're starting off in the Teams bit of Teams, which is the main bit, as you might expect, having the same name as the application. And then everywhere where you see an icon is a separate team. Everything underneath a team as indented and then without a little icon is what Microsoft call a channel. First thing to understand is that anything in a team is visible to the entire team. So whoever you add into the team, basic principle is that anything that you put in that team, whether it's a chat, a file, a tab, anything we're going to go through is visible to anybody in the entire team. Channels, therefore, don't segregate people, they segregate topics. So you can just have a team with one channel in. You always get general when you first set up a team, and you can't remove the general channel at the time of recording. And you can add as many channels as you want, as you need to segregate conversations and potentially then files. Our guidance is to get away with as few channels as you can manage, because if you've got a ridiculous example, more channels in the team than people, then it's going to be really hard to find stuff and make sure people are getting notified correctly. And we'll go through some of the notifications now. So we're in the testing channel, and jumping straight in, as we would do in normal training, is just getting started with notifying people and getting chatting. So you're in a team, you've already set up a team ahead of training people, and people generally would know what that team is for. So it might be a sales function team, it might be a project team, something in between, but why you're training people on Teams should be obvious. We're not going to go through all the context that we would have done up front about why it's important to move on to Teams and get on board with more cutting edge sort of ways of working and technology. That's all in the deck that if you want you can download in the description below. We're not going to cover that today, but we would do that in our normal training session if we're running in person. So we would dive straight into, let's just get ahead and start getting people posting into Teams. So as you might expect from any other consumer chat app, you would type your message in the bottom, and Teams always tries to help you out, saying start a new conversation in this bottom box. So if I just start typing in the bottom box and hit enter, you'll see it gets posted into the posts tab that we're in right now, which we'll go through tabs a bit later, straight away. So first thing to note is that that's obviously gone in straight away as soon as they enter, number one. And two, I don't know who's seen or got notified about that post. You're just assuming that someone is then going to go into that team, into that channel, and see that message. So to make sure you're directing a post to a certain person, you can then do an @ mention. So it's saying start a new conversation, type @ to mention somebody. So if then I do @Gav, which is my personal email, and then to hello, then I know that this person, assuming it wasn't me, will get pinged. They'll get a little pop-up box in the bottom right hand of their corner saying Gavin Jones has just mentioned you in a post. They'll then get directed, they'll get a little red 1 in next to the channel, they'll get a little red 1 on their app icon down here, they'll get then notified in their activity feed, which we'll have a look later. But basically then if you @ mention somebody in a post, you know that they've got a notification. It's going to appear in their activity feed, which is the thing that's most like their inbox, email inbox. So you know that they're likely to see that. If you just post without an @ mention, you don't know who's going to see that. Assume, on what we've been training app users to do, is assume that no one is going to see that message. They might do, but assume that if you haven't @ mentioned it, they're not. So if you're starting a new conversation, we recommend you always @ mention somebody. So imagine then you've got a large team, or you're a manager and you want to @ mention your entire team, or you want to @ mention everybody that's to do with that subject that you're writing about. You could do @ and then type everybody individually, and that would obviously be quite tedious, and you'd have to keep @ mentioning as you go through. Or you can @ and start typing channel, and that is then going to suggest the channel that we're in, which is the testing channel. And then if I do hello, that's going to notify everybody that's not hidden that channel. So this is where it gets slightly confusing sometimes in Teams, is that you won't know who's hidden that channel or not, especially if you've got quite a few channels in your team. You can see I've got 2 hidden channels here. So if anyone did @ change management or @ integrations, I wouldn't get notified about those channels. But it's fairly safe to assume that either they've hidden them because they don't want notifications because they're nothing to do with that subject, or they know that they're going to go back through and catch up on everything that's been going on in those channels themselves. So it's up to the end users if they're showing that channel or hiding it, and therefore you don't know for definite who's going to be pinged by this testing channel. But you can assume in the project that if people are involved in testing, you'd expect them to show that channel and not hide it. You could, when you first set up a channel, @ mention everyone individually that you expect to show that channel and not hide it, and say, look, we're going to be posting stuff in here about this subject. Please, everyone, show this channel. So when I talk about showing, if you go into your hidden channels list and hover over the channel, you can see it says show, and if you click the show button, it then gets added into your channel list, and then I would get then notified about anyone doing @ change management. You can then, if you've got anything you don't want any notifications about, you can click those 3 dots and hide, and it'll hide that channel and put them back into your hidden channels list. So there's one other way of mentioning everybody which we have turned off in our big team, which is @team, and that's going to mention everybody in the entire team, even if they've hidden the entire team. So as well as showing and hiding channels in the team, you can show and hide entire teams. So I've got quite a few hidden teams which appear in this hidden teams list under here, and that means if someone's doing a channel mention within those teams, I won't get notified about anything channel mentions because all the channels are effectively hidden. If someone mentions you individually, even in a hidden team, you'll still get notified, so you won't miss anything that's directed specifically at you. And if you don't want any notifications or anything to do with that team, you should just leave the team. So you can just leave the team by the 3 dots on the team there as well. So when you do @team, it mentions everybody in the team automatically. if you've turned off team mentions, you can @mention any, whoops, can't type. You can @mention any other channel in the team from any other channel in the team. So we're in the testing team, but we can @mention general. That's going to then ping everybody that's not hidden general. We'll come to some more advanced things about channel notifications in our next video on some extra tips. But as our basic training, we don't tell people how to do channel, other ways of managing their channel notifications. So if you do @general, you can assume that everybody in the team is going to get pinged because you can't hide general. So if we click the 3 dots in general, there's no option to hide it. And that's why I've turned off team mentions. Okay, so first thing that you need to remember to get started on Teams is if you're starting a new post, @mention somebody or the channel that you want to get notified when you're starting a new thing. Otherwise, assume that no one's going to see it. So straight after training, people generally forget this tip and they'll start a message saying, "Hi all, blah, blah, blah," and start typing. Second thing people miss up is they start typing something here, want to get a new line, hit enter, and then it's like, it's got put into the post for me. I just want a new line. So to get a new line, if you've got this sort of thin box down the bottom, when you hit enter, it'll go get posted straight away, which is really useful for a quick post. If you want a longer post, click this format button at the bottom. It pops up a bigger window. You can put in more stuff like an email, so you can put a subject line in if you wanted to. You start typing, and when you hit enter, it'll then start a new line. You've got all the stuff you used to, so bold, italic, underline, stuff like that. You can put hyperlinks in here if you wanted to. The quotes thing's quite cool, so if you highlight a few things and click the quote box, it puts it in a bit grey for you to make the formatting all nice. These bits at the top we'll cover in the next video, so if you're interested in those, then make sure you click the subscribe button so you get notified when that comes out. But second thing to mention is that if you hit enter, it goes straight in unless you click that compose box. So just get rid of that. In Teams, you can always edit or delete your own messages, which is different to some chat apps. So if you do post in the wrong place, don't just leave it there, just get rid of it. So if you posted something here and thought, what we've seen people do is post that, and I was like, oh no, meant to hit enter for new line. They still haven't done the pop-up box, so they hit that and that goes in as well. And the danger of all these separate threads is that they're going to create a split thread. They're going to mess up all the notifications and people won't know which thing to reply to. Let me just finish off on the edit or delete. So if we had posted in the wrong place, you can click the 3 dots next to your post and either edit it and then use the pop-up box and get rid of those things, and then hit enter and put some more things in. Because we put hi all, we might have spotted that and then want to go and change that to do an @mention or a channel mention. And then when we hit done, it's going to put it back. And if you have put an @mention in, it's going to ping people again. If we meant to put this up here, we could copy that, edit this one, and put it in there and click OK, and then delete this one. So to delete, it's the 3 dots and delete. You see this message saying it's been deleted. No one else will see that, so it'll just be gone. So that was all number 1. So number 1 is if you're writing a new conversation thread, put @ to mention somebody. Remember, if you want to enter more stuff, then hit the format box. And remember, you can edit or delete your own messages if they show up in the wrong place. Second principle, and you only need 2 to get started on Teams, is keep things in context. And the first way to keep things in context is the reply button. In Teams, you want to keep things in threads. So if we put a more meaningful message in here, and someone wanted to reply, we'd hit reply, insightful post, hit enter. Same things apply. If you want to put more things in, you can pop the box up in your replies. But you can see that then that post is indented in line underneath the thing we've just posted. So you can know if you've posted in the wrong place because all these things are new posts and you can see that they're not indented and they've got a gap between them. If you wanted to reply and did it wrong, you'd see that gap appear. So if I meant to reply to that post and put it here instead, you'd see that it's not right underneath it, so I know that's in the wrong place. I shouldn't leave it there, I should delete it. If I meant to reply, I should hit the reply button. Stupid as it sounds, this is the main thing that people miss when they get onto Teams. And you can see because I've posted again in a reply, it's not got my head icon anymore, it's just got the next line down. If someone else replied, it would be have the same icon underneath. But everything's in line. This whole box then is one thread. And if I come out and back into that channel, this is what everyone else would see, then all of that thread is jumped down to the bottom. So if I'd posted some things not replying, everything quickly goes out of order. So if then someone replied to this one or to this one, all of that thread would jump down to the bottom and you'd end up with like split threads. Danger of split threads is, one, it's quite confusing to follow for someone coming into that conversation, but more so the notifications get messed up. So when you reply in a chat thread, everyone above you on the thread will get notified that you've replied. So this one might have started out to a individual, then someone might reply and say, actually, at testing, can you help with this? And then move it out to the entire testing channel. So you can @mention within a reply, and that'll ping the same as doing it in a new conversation. But also everyone above you in the thread automatically gets notified. So if someone else replied to me, they don't need to put @Gavin Jones, I'll get notified just because I've started that thread and I'm above it in the thread. If Gavin, Ben, Bob all had been in that thread and you only want those people to know about your reply, you don't need to put anything in that reply apart from just the text you want them to reply with. If you wanted more people to see it, so say this has been posted and been around for a day, then when someone else replies, they might also want to ping some other people to bring those into the conversation or to just notify them that you've replied. So you can do @individual or channel mentions in the replies. Okay, so those are the two basic things that we really want to labour, because they're the main things that we've seen people mess up straight after training. The day after training, people forget those. They come into a channel, put hi all, they don't mention anybody, they reply out of thread, things get out of order, and then they don't like Teams because they say, oh, I don't know where anything is, I can't keep track of anything, no one's seeing anything. It's just because it's not being used properly. So make sure you really land those 2 points and don't be apologetic for keep going over them. I think try to mention them about 8 times during an hour-long training session and keep going back to them. So then in our training, we would go across the bottom and say, well, we've covered the format box, attachments into Teams. I guess if you just set up a team, there'll be no files there whatsoever. There'll probably be some files on people's C drives potentially. So if you want to then talk about file, which is the main thing I guess you want to collaborate on in Teams, you can probably upload it from your computer. If people are already using OneDrive, you can pick it from your OneDrive. I guess if you've got OneDrive synced, it'll be in both places anyway. If you've already got files in the team, which I'll come on to, you can browse teams and channels. So you should think of it less of an attachment and more of a sharing a link. It's just that if your file's not already in Teams, it's going to upload it for you into the team. So if we, and you can put in multiple links or attachments. So if we click the attach button again, we just did that browse teams and channels one, and that's going to point someone back to that file that's already in the team. If we're starting on a fresh team, we can pick upload from my computer. Let's pick something in maybe downloads and then just do this random one. So what that's going to do is pop up and say, well, it's not in Teams yet, where do you want to upload it to? So obviously it knows that we're in this channel, and we probably want the file to be in that channel as well. You can have subfolders within a channel, or you can just upload it into the main top level channel bit. So we're going to upload file. You can see it just uploads it for us, and then it'll just be available to everybody in that team, as if it was already in the team. So then we can do at channel, check out my files, hit enter, and they're both then in. So we'll come back onto files as we go through the tabs, but that's the attach button. If you're talking about a file, you should use the attach button in the post tab. You can put emojis into your chat, and they're the ones from Skype, so they're sort of animated. You can put GIFs, which are hugely popular in our organisation, and they really do help just to add a bit of humour into your messages, make it a bit more human. That's what people have really adopted Teams for. Stickers, you can have some memes, and you can customize some of these. So where you see some text, you can change the text. And last main one is the Meet Now button, which we'll come back onto. But obviously, everything you used to be able to do in Skype, you can do in Teams. So conference calling, one-to-one calling, video chat, group video chat, it is all available there. You can either meet directly there in the channel, or you can schedule a meeting, and we'll come back onto that later. You see that I had lots of other icons at the bottom. They all sort of get hidden in these three dots until you use them for the first time, and we don't usually go through those, but it's just other ways to link stuff into your posts. So if you've got stuff in Microsoft Stream, if you know what that is, then you can link that in there. Praise is relatively new, but you can give someone some praise for doing something nice. It gives them like a little badge. You can put a YouTube link in there, the weather, Bing Maps, news, stocks, Wikipedia. Anything you've got a link for, you can just paste the text link in anyway, and it'll give you a nice little preview window. But that's just some built-in stuff that you could get straight to without going to another browser to search for it. So then going across, we usually go across the top. So tabs are bespoke for each channel. So you always get posts and files. And I think when you set up a new channel, you get a Wiki tab, which we'll come on to. But you always get posts and files. Files is all the files that have been shared or stored in that team and in this channel. So we're in the testing channel, and these are all the files that are within the testing channel. In the background of Teams is just a SharePoint site that manages all the files. So you can think of the team as being a SharePoint site, and a channel as just a subfolder within a document library if you're used to SharePoint. So there's a general folder, recap folder, the testing folder. We'll come on to the private ones later because that's a bit more advanced. And you can open the same view in SharePoint. So if we just click open in SharePoint, we'll be able to see what we're talking about a little bit better. So we were in the testing channel, and we can just by default see the folders and files in that channel. If you come out one level, you can see this is where we've got all of the other channels stored here. So we know that anybody in that team can see any other channel, is what I was saying originally. So you can always go back out to the higher level, or you can just scroll through each channel's files by going into each channel and clicking on the Files tab. You can open any file from either the Posts tab or the Files tab. The importance I was saying of linking it in via the attachments button in the post is that you want to link the file in properly. I think Microsoft are doing a change, so it doesn't matter if you do it the way I'm about to show you. But when you click the file, whether you got it through to the file from the Posts tab or from the Files tab, when you click the Conversation button at the top, it's going to pop out and show you all of the chat that's happened about that file. If you don't link the file properly into the Posts tab, you won't see this chat that's associated with the file. Opens in the Office Online version, so if it's Excel, it opens in Excel Online. That's got a lot better, so the view in Teams when you opened it used to be quite big, it's too zoomed in, there wasn't much real estate you could work on that file. It's now a lot better that you can just open it, opens directly in Teams, it's ready to edit, and whatever you want to keep, whatever you want to edit, you can enter directly in, and it's going to automatically save for you, and you can roll back to any other version, so don't be scared about people wrecking your files. If we've got that conversation window open, if I then say, hi, updated this file, that's going to get saved along with the file. So if anyone's in this file, they can see my chat here. And this is a thread then. If I close that down and go back into the Post tab, that's posted back in thread in the Post channel for me. So whether I'm viewing it through the Post thing or viewing the file, then everything's sort of kept together in context. If it wasn't obvious already, everything now in Office 365 is fully co-authourable. So whether you're using the desktop app of Excel or Teams or Microsoft Excel Online, as soon as you go into that file, multiple people can be in that file at the same time, editing the same thing. You'll see their cursor moving around in pretty much real time. So if it's Word, you can see people typing at different points. If it's PowerPoint, you can see the slide they're working on and stuff they're moving around. So Teams is really bringing everything together to say, well, let's work on stuff together. If you're opening the file and working on it, you can then have a chat about at the side of it as well. So the reason I say Post links in properly is because you can on the Files tab click the three dots and get a link. That gets a text link, and you can copy it. And then what we have seen people do is then post that text link back into the conversations thread and hit enter. So it does work in that it'll direct people to that file. But if I then put anything in reply to this thread, that won't get saved with the chat that's associated with that file. So I've just put a reply into the text link. I then view the comments. Oh, sorry, not comments. It's gone. So I can't even see the conversations window. Now I've clicked that link. If I click this link, which is the same file, it should show me the conversations thread again. So that other thread where I've pasted the text link isn't saved alongside the file because I didn't link it in properly with the paperclip icon. Hope that makes sense, but you will find out when you start using it. So if apart from posts and files, the other tab you get as default when you create a new channel, you don't get one in general. If you create a new channel, you get Wiki. And Wiki is like a cut down version of OneNote. If you use OneNote, if you don't know what OneNote is, it's just like a digital notebook. And Wiki's a cut down version of that. So it's arranged in pages and sections of a page. So the three little hamburger menu icon there pops open. You can see all the pages. In any tab, you can expand it to fill the whole page and get rid of your Teams view. So then you can see the pages and the sections of each page. So when you click on that page, it shows you the sections, and you can jump straight to a section. So in our main training, we don't go much through Wiki because it's quite a lot for people to understand, but this part of the training is just to show you everything that teams can do, so people get an understanding, and it's not just, well, why would I use it? It's just another thing. It's just a replacement for Skype. It's not actually, you can bring everything together in it, so it's the one place that you collaborate on everything, and there's lots of different tools to help you collaborate on things in different ways as well. So Wiki is just one of those things. So if you wanted to keep something a bit more permanent than a conversation thread, then we would say use Wiki, because one, it comes by default. Two, it's integrated into Teams, so you can do app mentioning in the Wiki and it'll ping back into the posts tab for you. It's not fully co-authourable, unlike OneNote, so when you click into Wiki, you'll lock a section out and only that person that's editing that section can go into it. But it is a very cut down way just to keep things together. So we've got some other videos on what Wiki's about, how to use Wiki for running meetings. I'll put those in the links below as well, but our main training, we wouldn't cover much about Wiki apart from the fact that it's there and it's good use for keeping things that you want to keep more permanent. So if it's like rules for a meeting, there's a meeting agenda, meeting notes, just anything about where we're going to save things or how we're going to use the team, all good uses of Wiki. And just brings people into the tabs as well. So then if we've doing training, we've already set up a team that's established and we're training new people, we would go back into a channel that's like used quite a lot of tabs in a good way. So we'd usually go into a channel that's got a few tabs for keeping documents pinned, which hoping I've already got one. So you can pin anything you want as a tab. So let's just go and do that one. So if we wanted that version history, that was something we're working on quite a lot. We wanted the entire channel to see that. If it was a tracker that's being updated very regularly or stuff that you want to work on all the time, you can then click on those three dots and say make this a tab. So you see it opens, but then we've also got this version history test pop up as a tab. So then people can, if we've also got quite a lot of tabs in this testing team, we wouldn't usually have this many, as they do start to drop off at the end. But then you can rename that tab if you wanted to, so it doesn't rename the file, it's just renaming the tab. You can call it whatever you want. The file name stays the same, so you could call that tracker or whatever. And you can see you then get straight into the document from that tab, so it's quite handy to pin things to the top that you're going to use quite a lot. We would touch on Microsoft Planner, and we tried to launch this at the same time we launched Teams, as if it was the same thing. Again, we've got a completely different video on Planner, but we just say in the main training about why you would want to use Planner. It's a to-do list, shared to-do list. You can keep it as simple as you want and just have one list of to-do items, or you can have multiple buckets of tasks. And this planner here is set up for use with our how to use Planner for meetings video, which again I'll link in below. In our main training, we would just touch on Planner to say you can set up tasks. If any of you've got any users that use Trello, it's basically Trello. None of our users knew what Trello was, so we just go through saying we can add a task in for people, put some notes in, you can even add attachments back from the team. You can put in sub tasks if you want, and you can put in comments if you want, and all the comments then get recorded and time-stamped in that task card. But the main thing is you can put a due date and assign it to anybody in the team. They need to be in the team because the planner is assigned to an Office 365 group, which is part of the team. You can assign it to anyone in the team, and then a couple of things happen. So our tasks used to be kept in people's Excel files and emailed out before we started using Teams. We really want to use Planner as well as Teams because it stops people going into email and Excel. And if you've got lots of meetings and lots of actions coming out of each meeting, you're then putting the onus on the person that's receiving the task to keep track of all of those things they've got to keep to do themselves. Go into each spreadsheet, find out what tasks for them, and then do it and go back. Find out a lot of people that aren't even doing the tasks. People aren't following up the tasks in meetings. Put stuff in Planner. A few things happen. So first of all, if you put a due date in, you know that if someone's assigned a task with a due date, they're going to get a notification saying they've been assigned a task. They get a notification probably the week that it's due, saying they've got a task coming up. You get a notification like 3 days before the task is due, saying it's still coming up. And they've got a notification the day before it's due, the day it's due, the day after they don't do it, 3 days after they don't do it, the week after they don't do it. You know they're going to get chased. So all of that chasing, which is a lot of project managers' job, is done for you if you assign that task in Planner. The second thing is that, like I just explained, if you're keeping track of everything that's coming into you and it's on about 5 different spreadsheets from different meetings, if it's in Planner, you get your own version of Planner. So these 3 dots on the left-hand side here, and go to Planner, that's going to show you a My Tasks tab, and everything that has been put in any version of Planner, in any team you're a member of, across your entire organization, will all feed back into your version of Planner. So wherever it's done, wherever it's assigned to you, it'll appear in your My Tasks. You can then update people from there, so you can click into that task. This is an old one, a test one. Click into that task. You can update the comments if you want to keep people up to date, if they're going to go into the task and see stuff, and you can change the progress, whether you've started or not, whether it's done, and everyone then will go back into that shared Planner. Everyone can see what's going on there. So we'll go through a Wiki tab, a pinned tab, a Planner tab, and probably a website tab. So you can pin any website you want. Here's one where I need to sign in, so I can't remember what I pinned. But we have seen people pinning things like if you've got retailer data, you can pin that website right there, so you can just go straight into it, and you don't need to leave Teams to do your work, basically. So if it's something to do with that entire channel, then you can pin it as a tab. Remember that any tab you pin in a channel isn't just in your view. You're pinning it for everybody's view, so it should be something that's going to be applicable to more than just yourself. And we just go through to how to add a tab. So just click the plus, and you can see everything that you can plug into Teams, just to show the diversity of everything you can plug in. So most of the Microsoft things that you've probably got as part of your subscription appears in the top, and then if you're using any other third-party things already, you can just put those straight into Teams, either as a tab or a bot or chat or whatever. We don't have a lot of things in our organisation, so we don't use it as much, apart from to say that there's loads and loads and loads of stuff you can do in Teams, and it's trying to bring everything together. One of the main things is I think you can put in Salesforce. I think there's a Salesforce app now, although I can't see it right now. I might have gone past it. Which might be the other big software that you're using alongside Microsoft. Okay, so that's the main bit of the training done. Remember that you only need to remember 2 things. One is when you start a new conversation, mention somebody. Second thing is keep things in context. So it's files you're chatting about, make sure you link them properly, or if you're just replying in thread, make sure you click the reply button. And you can delete or edit your own posts if you make a mistake, and don't leave something there if you've made a mistake. Get rid of it or edit it. So that sort of finishes the very quick overview of Teams. There should be enough to get people into using the Teams bit of Teams. Then we just run through all of the other sections. So Teams is then public by default to the team. Chat is private by default until you add somebody. So I won't show you much of the chat because there's going to be stuff that I need to blur out anyway in this video. But if you click on the chat, that's where most of the stuff that if you're used to using Skype, it's going to be probably in the chat bit. So you can do one-to-one text message chat. You can do group chats in there. You can name a group chat like WhatsApp. but everything in the chat is private by default. A lot of the functionality from tabs, you won't get all of the tabs things in a group chat. But if you've just got a very temporary collection of people to do something very specific, you don't need all the functionality of setting up a new team. You can do quite a lot of stuff in private chat still. One of the downsides of that is that private chat's not governed, obviously. Teams, you can have some governance from your IT to set stuff up, or some other way of training people to know when to set up a new team or a new channel, etc. Chat is anyone can do anything they want, and if people overuse private chat and don't use the team, you might see people either overlapping stuff that should be in the team, and then not everyone's seeing things that they should be seeing. People get lost in that if you put files in a private chat, it's actually using people's personal OneDrives to share those files, and if they leave, then the files are gone, and they can't find them again, which is why you probably want to use the team to do things that are more important. And it gets people into bad habits, because chat at the moment, at the time of recording, isn't threaded. So it's every time you post something in there, you're getting pinged about every single post, and it's not threaded, so you can't keep things together. And then when people move into the team to post things, that's when they get picking up bad habits, forgetting to reply in thread, forgetting to link files in properly, etc., etc. Activity, again, I won't click on because I'm going to have to blur it out anyway. Just save me a job in editing later on. But that's where you can see anywhere you've got notification, it's going to appear in your activity feed. It's most likely the inbox, and you can see it in reverse chronological order. Anywhere where I've got a channel at mention or an individual at mention, it's going to appear in my activity feed. So when I said before about Microsoft not having an algorithm, they have now started saying suggested and trending posts, which appear in your activity feed. So even if someone's not at mentioned you specifically, or a channel you're following, if Microsoft Graph has worked out you work with that person a lot, it might ping you up and say, oh, did you know that Bob has posted this thing, and direct you into there. You can just ignore those if you want. If you're a bit OCD, you probably want to click on it and just get rid of the bold message. And trending, so if people have liked quite a lot of posts, if a lot of people have liked posts, so if that's when you hover over a message, rather than writing a reply, you can just say, yep, got it, just give them a little thumbs up or a heart or a smiley or whatever if you thought it was funny. If a lot of people have doing reactions, then that post might start to trend in Microsoft algorithm, and it'll then ping that into everyone in the team and say, look, this is, a lot of people have been clicking like on this one, you might want to have a look at it. Calendar is exactly the same as your calendar in Outlook, that's all synced. And calls, you can make direct calls to one-to-one or groups from there if you didn't want to go into the chat. So like I said, chat's the main bit of Skype, so as you would in Skype, you can start a chat with someone and then just call them. Or if you're doing a group chat, when you click call, it's going to call everybody. Calendar, you can schedule a Teams meeting, and that'll be an online meeting, again like Skype, or you can schedule it from Outlook and put the Teams link into your meeting invite, and people just join that conference call, whether it's on video or just voice, from there. And then files don't use particularly much. That's just showing you all of your files in reverse chronological order that you've worked on or opened or viewed recently, and whether it's across your OneDrive, any team you're in, or any other SharePoint site you're a member of, you'll see all of your online files there, if that's useful to you. So I guess the main gist is that you're not going anywhere else apart from Teams to do the bulk of your work. And what we say in training is that anything internal we should probably be trying to use Teams for. If there's anything external like customer stuff, then we should be getting back into email. And external, I guess, covers people that you don't usually work with a lot. So if there's some person that you need to contact across the organisation, and you don't know they're fully on Teams, especially if you're just rolling it out, then I guess you would expect to go back into email. There will be a time when we want to use email, for the right purpose. But as we're rolling Teams out, we've been training so people say, look, if it's internal, you know that everyone that you need to contact has been trained on Teams. You should be using Teams to sort of break that email habit. One of the biggest barriers to adoption for Teams we found is people just especially at times of crisis, just reverting back to what they know and just going back into emailing people. And the more people that email, stupid as it sounds, the more people that email. So especially if it's your managers that are emailing, then people underneath them will email them back thinking, well, they might not be seeing stuff in Teams. But you really want to break that habit and get people onto Teams to get it adopted. Okay, cool. So that's all we would usually cover in the main bit of our training. We would usually touch a bit on how to set up a meeting, just so people know how to do that. And we would do a lot more context setting at the start. But hopefully that gives you a decent overview, full overview of Teams to start off 2020. If you want to know anything else, leave us a comment below. We've probably already got a specific video on some other bits. Next week, we're going to be touching on some extra things that we have specifically don't train in the initial training session on purpose, because they're covering some more advanced things that people like to forget, or they're covering things that actually people probably don't want people to do. And I'll tell you why in next week's video. If you want to get notified about next week's video, make sure you click subscribe and the bell icon. And remember that if you want the accompanying deck that goes along with our first training session, click the free download link in the description below. Thanks very much for watching so far, and we'll see you in the next video.